I found the email by accident, the way you find an old photo tucked in the wrong book. The thing you weren't looking for but can't stop staring at once it's in your hands. I was at Noor's apartment to borrow a denim jacket, the one with the hand-stitched cranes on the back that she bought from a vintage shop off Old Town. Noor was my best friend since we were 13, my everything person. I knew the passcode to her phone. She knew the apartment code to my mother's flat. It wasn't a boundary so much as a trust fall that had lasted 8 years. Her phone chimed on the table and I glanced at it, meaning to ignore it out of habit the way you pretend not to hear secrets. But the notification preview was my name, Relux Skin, Campaign, Model Inquiry, @10, Rhea. It said, Rhea. Me. I looked at Noor's bathroom door. The water was still running, steam curling under the frame. I picked up the phone. The email was from a brand I recognized immediately, Lux Skin, whose clay mask I'd saved up to buy once after a sleeping bus job paid. I'd seen their billboards with clean, bright girls in white shirts, the kind of effortless glow that made you crave cucumbers and a simpler life. This one wasn't a newsletter. It was from an actual person, a casting coordinator named Mira, responding to an inquiry about my availability. Except the thread started weeks ago. The first email. Hi Rhea, we've been following your Instagram since your student photo series went up on the City Arts page. Would you be interested in a paid campaign shoot? It's a weekend project, fee attached. My heart stuttered. I scrolled. A response had already been sent. Hi Mira, this is Rhea's manager. She's flattered but won't be available this month. Keep her in mind for future, it said. No signature, just swift dismissal wearing my name like a mask. I scrolled faster. There were more messages, polite back and forths I had never written. Then, 3 days later, actually, Rhea recommends Noor, another model she works closely with. She's perfect for your look. The bathroom door opened. I looked up like a kid caught with chalk on her hands. Noor stepped out wrapped in a towel, hair dripping, smiling because I was here, because our lives had been braided for so long that neither of us knew where the other ended. Found the jacket? She asked, rubbing her hair with another towel. Yeah, I said, voice too flat. Your phone buzzed. It was about me. Her smile dimmed a shade. She glanced at the screen in my hand and then at me. Her mouth opened, closed, like a goldfish at the surface. Okay, she said slowly. Okay, this looks terrible. Did you pretend to be me? My voice was calm, eerie calm, as if the room were a set and I was a professional stepping into a role. Noor took a breath. Yes, she said. But it's not. Rhea, listen. I wanted all the words at once. Or maybe I wanted silence to scoop up the mess before it spread. Instead, I sat, pressing my palms into my thighs until I felt the denim seams. Noor sat across from me, towel like a sash. You remember the Keaton campaign last fall? She said. You were shortlisted. They wanted you, but they were paying peanuts, and the director was a creep. I told you to skip it, and you thanked me. Lux Skin looked the same. They said fresh face and urban glow in that way agencies do when they mean work hard for almost nothing and we own your face for a year. You made yourself my manager, I said, slow, like speaking to a child, because if I moved quickly, I might break. You never reply to DMs, she said, as if that were a kindness. You hate the back and forth. I do it for you all the time. That's not the same as deleting my shot. I didn't delete it. Noor's eyes were pleading, wet but controlled. She had always been better at performance, at arranging emotion like furniture. I redirected it. I knew the producer. I told her to call me, and she did. And I looked at the storyboard, and Rhea... She stopped, closed her eyes. I needed this. There it was like a lead weight revealed under the rug. So you took it. You weren't going to, she said, voice rising. You were in your head last month. Here one day, gone the next. Ghosting everything because you didn't know if you were a real model or a photography kid with good angles. Remember? Late nights on our roof with you spiraling about your mother, about money, about being seen but not used. Your words. My words don't give you the right to steal, I said. I felt cold. My fingers trembled, so I clenched them. You could have told me. You used my name. You said you were my manager. You sold me and then replaced me. Replaced is harsh. Noor flinched when I laughed, a sharp sound in her kitchen. I thought I was protecting you, and yes, also, I have rent, Rhea. I have a mother who doesn't answer my calls unless I send her money. And for once I wanted to be the first choice. Do you know how humiliating it is always being the sidekick to a girl who doesn't even want to show up for herself half the time? The last words hit like pebbles thrown too hard. Somewhere in Noor's monologue was a truth about me, about my tendency to hesitate, to sabotage. But the truth in her didn't cancel the wrong. "Send me the producer's number," I said. My voice was steady now, a plank I could walk across. "And Mira's. And write from your personal email that you falsely represented me. Tell her the truth. What are you doing?" Noor's face drained. "You can't just... This is my gig now. I signed the NDA. You forged my consent. That's illegal." I stood, jacket sliding off my lap. "If you won't send me the contact, I will find her." "My name is in the subject line." Noor's chest rose and fell. She turned away and then turned back, like a storm choosing land. "I won't lose this," she said, and under the steel was a crack. "I won't let you keep what is mine," I said. "Not like this." It was a relief to walk into air that didn't smell like eucalyptus shampoo. On the street, the city lifted its usual noise to meet me. Motorbikes, a hawker calling out guavas, a bus grumbling past, the sky the color of dirty pearls. I could map this city by the places Noor and I had laughed on sidewalks, cried in bathrooms, taken photos against cracked walls. This betrayal felt like finding out the map was drawn in erasable ink. Back at my mother's apartment, I opened my own email. I found the original Lux skin thread in my deleted folder, because of course it was there. Someone had been tidy about their crime. I stared at the garbage bin icon and laughed again, the sound wobbling this time. I restored the thread and typed, "Hi Mira," I wrote. "Rhea here. I just saw this thread for the first time. I did not authorize anyone to respond for me. I would like to talk to you about the campaign." I sent it before I could talk myself into softness. Mira replied within an hour. "Hi Rhea, thank you for writing. This is concerning. I appreciate you reaching out. Are you available for a call today?" In the call, Mira was measured, her voice the kind that could guide a plane down. I explained. I didn't throw Noor to wolves, but I didn't wrap her in cotton either. I told the truth like a bowl I placed between us. "This industry requires trust," Mira said gently. "And contracts," she sighed. "We were excited about you. Your City Faces series, was that what it was called?" "Faces on the 8A. It was a study of commuters," I said. I was embarrassed but proud too. That photo series had been how I learned what longing looked like in the spines of strangers. Right. The art director saw it and thought you were authentic. That you'd fit what we're trying to do. A skincare line that doesn't look retouched to death. She paused. "We did sign Noor yesterday based on the referral. But this changes things." "Changes in what direction?" I asked, my throat raw. "I want you," Mira said plainly. "If you want this. We'll void Noor's job on the grounds of misrepresentation. It's messy, but it's better to do messy now than dishonest later." "I want it," I said before fear grew new wings. "Great. I'll send over the contract. Go through it carefully. I'll answer anything you want." "And Rhea?" Mira's voice softened. "I'm sorry this happened." The contract was precise about everything from usage rights to whether I could post behind-the-scenes photos. I could after the campaign launched. It was fair. It was more money than I'd ever made in a single weekend, enough to take a breath for a month. My chest fluttered as I read each clause like a spell. The words looked sturdy. Before I signed, I called Noor. "I spoke to Mira," I said when she answered. "I'm taking the job." Silence. Then a whisper, shaky. "Rhea, please." "You pretended I didn't exist," I said. "Mira is voiding your slot. You can't do this." Noor's control cracked. "My rent, Rhea, you don't understand. When my mom texts me, it's not to ask how I am, it's to ask. She thinks modeling is a dream that will evaporate. This was proof. The billboard would have been proof. We both needed proof," I said, and heard how cruel that sounded, how true. We promised each other to be honest. "You took my yes away before I could even give it." "I'm not sorry for taking it back," she hung up. Or maybe the line dropped. Maybe everything between us did. The shoot was scheduled 2 Saturdays from then. The week before, I lived in a body that felt porous, as if my skin had grown new holes, the light finding ways through I'd never planned. The future was a shape I could almost touch, and the past tugged my sleeve with questions. Was I right? Was I ruthless? Was I just the same as Noor in a different costume? On set, the studio smelled like coffee and hot lights. People moved with practiced efficiency, stylists whispering to racks of clothing, a makeup artist with the smooth hands of a sculptor. The art director, a woman named Rhea with a silver sweep of hair, greeted me with a hug that felt like being included in a team you'd admired from a locked gate. "I loved your 8A series," she said, walking me through the storyboard. "That's the energy. Intimate, real, unposed, but actually well composed, you know? The product is the canvas, not the subject. Also, can we talk about your cheekbones? Because the light is going to fall in love." I laughed for the first time in days, a real laugh. "We can talk about cheekbones. You good?" Rhea asked, reading my eyes the way good directors read everything. "I will be," I said. They sat me in a white shirt and jeans, hair pulled back, face dewy. The makeup artist, Gayatri, plucked at my thoughts as easily as she plucked at my brows. "Healing hurts," she said, blending a soft glow along my cheek. "But don't mistake pain for punishment. Sometimes it's just your muscles learning a truer posture." "Are you talking about the contour?" I asked, and she laughed. We started with stills. The photographer, a man named Dev who'd shot 3 of my favorite campaigns, showed me the light like a teacher shows you a shortcut on a math problem. He pointed to a softbox and asked me how I like to be seen. "Honestly," I said, "like I just read a line that changes everything." "Good," he said and lifted the camera. Click, breath, head tilt. Chin down, laugh, stillness. Dev would murmur, more defiance, and something in my spine would straighten. More softness, and my mouth would curve like a shoreline. Modeling, I realized, wasn't pretending. It was permission to be loudly the many selves I kept quiet in daily life. Between takes, I glanced at my phone. I had texts from my mother, pictures of the cat, a reminder to take multivitamins, and none from Noor. The absence was a new bruise I kept poking. I thought of our first shoot together 3 summers ago, when Noor had convinced me to go to an open call at a small agency. "You have the face of a poem," she'd said then, dead serious. And I'd rolled my eyes but gone with her anyway because sometimes I was brave when she said I was. Now I was here because she had said I couldn't be. We broke for lunch, and Priya sat next to me on a milk crate, eating dal from a little steel tiffin. "You're doing beautifully," she said. "Thanks," I said. "I keep thinking about my friend." "Ah," she said with the exaggerated sigh of someone who's seen 1,000 human entanglements. "Was this that situation?" "It was," I said. "We grew up together. She helped me be seen, and then she hid me. I think both can be true." "They often are," Priya said. "Do me a favor. Don't make your life a ledger. Some debts can't be balanced by arithmetic. Is that in the contract too?" I asked, and she smiled. After lunch, we shot a short video spot. The line was simple. I washed my face with the cleanser, laughed off camera at something Dev said about his cat, then turned back with water dripping from my jawline like new rain. They filmed my hands opening the moisturizer, rubbing it in with small circles, gaze steady. Priya wanted a moment where I looked right into the lens and didn't smile, didn't seduce, just existed. "Hold your ground," she said. I did. For a second, the world narrowed to a lens and the way my heart slowed when I refused to shrink to fit a frame. We wrapped at golden hour. On my way out, Mira caught me by the door. "Congratulations," she said, not in the fake polite way, but like we were comrades. Like we both wanted this to be good, because we both liked beauty that didn't lie. "Thank you for trusting me," I said. "I didn't do you a favor," she said. "You were always the person we were trying to find." At home, I sent Noor a message. I didn't expect a response. It felt important to say it anyway. "I shot the campaign today," I wrote. "I hope you booked something else. I hope we find a way to talk when we're ready. I won't pretend this wasn't yours for a second because of me, and mine for a first because of me. I'm sorry for the pain. I'm not sorry for taking back my name." Her red receipt popped up. A minute passed. Then a reply. "I'm glad you got it," she said. "I hate you." I don't know. I stared at the 3 contradictory sentences and thought, yes, that was our language. Love salted with resentment, anger braided with pride. I turned my phone off and made tea. The night was a city of its own, and I walked through it alone. The ad went live 3 weeks later. They didn't tell me the locations beforehand. You're supposed to be surprised. I had no idea my face would be 7 meters tall on the side of the underpass I crossed to get to campus. I was on the bus, my mother beside me for once on her day off when it happened. We both saw it at the same time. The white shirt, the gaze into the lens, the faint smirk, like I'd just understood something no one could take. My mother clutched my hand so hard I couldn't feel my fingers. "That's you," she breathed as if I might argue. "That's my Rhea." She laughed, a sound that had texture, like rice pouring into a jar. "Do you know when you were 5 you refused to be in any photo without holding a flower? We had to bribe you with lollipops. Now look at you." I tilted my head, lining up my profile with the giant one. It was me. It was a version of me made after the original from some courage I hadn't claimed until then. After the bus stopped, I got off and took a photo from below, my mother laughing behind me. My phone buzzed. "A message from Noor. Meet me?" She wrote with a location pinned. The tea stall under the giant peepal tree near the old stadium, our unofficial confessional for years. I went. The stall smelled like cardamom and heat. Noor was already there, staring at her tea as if reading her future in the froth. When she saw me, she looked up and flinched like someone who'd looked at the sun too long. "You look good up there," she said flatly. "Thanks," I said. "You would have too," she made a noise. "Don't. I know I messed up the moment you said Mira's name. I knew before that when I typed manager and my hands shook. I told myself stories. I told myself you were too fragile, that I was protecting you from getting chewed up. But I was just greedy, afraid." She took a sip, burnt her tongue, hissed. "I hate being the second choice. I hate thinking I'm not enough and then seeing you and loving you and hating the mirror you hold." I sat, the chipped cup warming my palm. "I know that mirror. You hold it for me too. I've watched you be beautiful without apology, and I've wanted to be that kind of brave my whole life." Noor laughed wryly. "Do you know how I get brave? I pretend I'm you. I hear your voice in my head when I'm about to cry on set. Look down the lens. Sign your name with your eyes. I stole your line along with your job." My throat tightened. We were ridiculous creatures, borrowing from each other until we forgot who owned what. "I don't want us to be enemies," I said. "But I also can't pretend this didn't change something." "I don't want us to be enemies either," she said. "It did change everything. Maybe that's okay." She shrugged, tears standing in her eyes like glass. "I got dropped from another gig when they heard about the Mira thing. I can rebuild. I'm learning contracts properly now. I'll get a real manager. Me, the girl who said managers were for celebrities. We could share a lawyer," I said before my head could warn my heart. "For looking at paperwork. Someone neutral," Noor studied me. "You're still..." "You, what's the alternative?" I asked. "Be mean forever?" "I tried yesterday. It made my stomach hurt." She smiled, crooked. "I found a small brand doing a sorry campaign. They don't pay big money, but the designer is a mom who brings her toddler to the studio and makes the kid nap under the cutting table. It feels real. I think I'll say yes." "Say yes to the real thing," I said, hearing Priya in my mouth, and we both laughed. We sat and talked for an hour. We didn't solve anything. We put our grief on the table between us like a shared meal and poked it with spoons. When we left, we hugged. Our bones knew each other, but I felt the air where the braid had loosened, where some strands were now mine alone. In the months that followed, strangers recognized me at a cafe and asked if the Luxe Skin Glow was legit. I told them the truth. The product was good, but the glow you saw was mine, a decision more than a serum. My DMs filled with both sweetness and static. Some girl wrote, "Seeing you up there makes me feel seen here." I screenshotted it and kept it on my lock screen for days. I took more jobs. Some I turned down because they wanted me to be a shape I wasn't fitted for. I got a manager, an actual one, recommended by Mira. He was the opposite of Noor's fiction. Careful, precise, no flattery unless there was also honesty. Noor and I drifted like continents. We texted about cats and mothers and heat waves, but not about shoots. I liked her posts. She liked mine. Occasionally late at night, she sent a selfie from a set. Makeup smudged, chaos behind her, and wrote, "It's wild." I wrote back, "We're wilder." Then one evening, months later, I walked into a small gallery in a converted warehouse to see a student show. There was a photograph on the wall that made me stop breathing for a second. A portrait of Noor, face bare, eyes tired, mouth stubborn, a coil of hair escaping, a smear of turmeric on her left cheek like a blessing that forgot where it belonged. The placard said, "Noor after the call." The photographer was a name I didn't recognize. A kid probably, hungry, with good timing. The caption quoted Noor, "Sometimes we ruin the thing we want because we're scared it'll leave if we hold it." I didn't know if the photograph was about me, or about her mother, or about the industry. I only knew it was honest. I stood with it for a long time. Someone beside me said, "She's beautiful." I said, "She is." After the show, I stepped outside into air that smelled like rain. Noor was there, leaning against a pillar, looking at the sky like it had just addressed her personally. When she saw me, she smiled. It reached both her eyes this time. "Hey," she said. "Hey," I said. "That portrait," she said, jerking her head toward the building. "I almost told them to take it down." "It's good," I said. "It's the real thing," she nodded, a beat. "If you ever want to do a series again," she said lightly, pretending it wasn't the most loaded invitation. "I know a girl with a lot of faces." "I know a girl who's a poem," I said, almost teasing, and then we both rolled our eyes at myself. We walked together to the bus stop. A city bus shrieked up, doors folding open like a sigh. We climbed in, swayed together, hands on the metal rail. Outside the window, another billboard flashed past. This one not mine, someone else's possibility enlarged. The driver yelled at a motorbike. An old man cradled a chicken. A teenager practiced rolling their tongue. Ordinary life, huge in the way it only is when you look. "Do you think we'll forgive each other?" Noor asked, not looking at me. "I think forgiveness is like skincare," I said before I could stop myself. "You can't do it once and be done. It's a routine. You remember, you soften, you try again," Noor huffed a laugh. "You're insufferable." "Yes," I said, and glowing. She bumped my shoulder. Our silhouettes in the bus window overlapped as we passed under streetlights, and then separated. I didn't know where we would land, who we would be to each other in 5 years. That used to scare me. It still did, but in a different key. Maybe we would become those kinds of friends who text once a month and mean it. Maybe we would become strangers who carry the same memory like an old coin in a pocket. Maybe we would make art together again. Maybe not. Weeks later, the campaign wrapped and another began. I was on set for a small jewelry brand when my phone buzzed with a message from Noor. A photo of her on a sari shoot, the designer's toddler asleep under a table on a pile of soft muslin. Noor's feet were bare. Her eyes were lit from within. "Said yes to the real thing," she wrote. I sent back a heart. Then I tucked my phone away and turned toward the camera. The light was ready. So was I, but sometimes the story likes a coda. The brand threw a launch party for the Luxe skin line. All potted plants and artful ladders and drinks with herbs floating like tiny ships. Mira insisted I attend, said it would be good for the portfolio and the soul. The venue was a long room with brick walls and a ceiling that made everything sound like laughter from a different room. Priya told a story about the shoot, about the moment my eyes burned into the lens in a way that made the whole crew quiet. Dev rolled his eyes and said all the credit went to the softbox. At some point in the evening, I found myself alone near the back, next to a mural of a woman whose hair became a river. A girl in a black dress hovered at the edge of my vision, then approached, clutching her phone like a talisman. "Hi," she said, voice trembling. "You don't know me. I'm Sarika. I love the ad. Not just the product, the way you looked like you didn't need anyone to say yes to exist." "Thank you," I said, startled by how much that sentence felt like a blessing. She exhaled. "My sister and we've been trying to be enough together since we were kids. We steal each other's shirts and sometimes each other's air. It's messy. Your face on that wall?" She gestured toward a framed still from the campaign. "Made me think maybe the point isn't ownership. Maybe it's presence." I swallowed past a sudden lump. "I think that's exactly it," I said. She grinned, embarrassed, and scuttled away. I stood there alone and felt the strange, warm ache that comes when your life leaks into someone else's in a way that helps. I texted Noor, "I met a Sarika tonight. She reminded me of us, in the good way." Noor wrote back an emoji, a pair of hands, palms together. I imagined her somewhere taking a deep breath, releasing it, taking another. On the way out of the party, I caught sight of the wall at the entrance. Someone had set up a Polaroid station for guests. It was covered in small square moments, couples mid-laugh, the art director with a cat ear headband, 2 interns sticking tongues out, Mira smiling with an expression that managed to be proud and protective and tired. I searched for mine and found it lower right, me alone, hair tucked back, eyes steady. Someone had scrawled on the bottom in a messy hand, signed her name with her eyes. I took a photo of the photo. Then I left. Outside, the air was humid and generous. A bus sighed somewhere far off. The night was full of ordinary noises. I felt my ribs expand. I felt the story lodge itself somewhere that would keep humming long after the billboards came down, and the next new face rose. On the walk home, I passed under the underpass with my own face and watched a kid on a bicycle look up, grin at me, then at the ad, then back at me again, eyes wide as if he'd cracked a magic trick. I lifted a hand. He startled, then waved fast, thrilled. The city muttered and sang around us. I considered the girl I had been 2 years ago, who would have apologized to the air for taking up space. I wanted to reach back and tell her, there will be people who try to write your script for you, even the people who love you. Listen to them, then write anyway. Kindness is not compliance. Boundaries are not a betrayal. You are not a guest at your own life. I wasn't naive. Nor and I would fight again, maybe about something stupid like a borrowed earring or something big like creative credit. We'd change, and the distance would change too, like a tide. I didn't know if we'd ever go back to braiding each other's hair on rooftops. I only knew this. I would answer my own emails. I would sign my own contracts. I would choose yes and mean it. And when I looked down a lens, I would let the parts of me that were scared stand in the light anyway. A week later, I found a message in my inbox from a small magazine asking for a short essay. Want to write about how it felt to see yourself 10 meters tall? I stared at the subject line and thought of the night Noor and I stubbed our toes on the same corner in my mother's kitchen and swore at the universe in perfect unison, and later, how we'd both limped and still danced at midnight on the roof. I thought of the girl at the party, of my mother on the bus, of the Polaroid with the note. I opened a blank document and wrote the first sentence without stopping to wonder if it was good. I wrote, my best friend hid my modeling offer. I signed the contract and took her spot in the ad, and that is not the villain origin story you think. When I finished, I sent it. I didn't wait to be told it was a story. I already knew, months later, on a different bus, in a different part of the city, I saw a different billboard, Noor again, wrapped in a lemon yellow sari, a toddler's hand peeking from the bottom of the frame like a cameo. Noor's eyes were lit from inside. Her smile was the kind that didn't beg. I texted her a picture with the caption, "You're sunshine." She replied, "So are you." Then, "Coffee tomorrow?" And then before I could answer, or next week. No rush. I looked at her billboard until it disappeared behind buildings. I texted back, "Tomorrow." The bus lurched. A fruit seller shouted. The city made us both small and enormous. I leaned my head against the window and watched the world rush by, lit by advertisements that for once felt less like hunger and more like proof that we were here, writing ourselves, together and apart. The end.